notified subscribers that we're live. This is not your first rodeo, though, Jeffrey.
Yes, it is. Oh, no, that's right. I did that thing in the sugar house. That's kind of
Yes.
spontaneous thing.
That was great. That was great. Okay, hi. We're live. We're a few seconds early.
Can you
I'm here. Yes.
can you hear the little dog upstairs barking?
Oh, yes. What kind is it?
It fits in your hand. It's a little miniature Pomeranian.
Oh, is it going to
It's
visit
like
us?
it's a hairball. No, it's just gonna sit up there and bark.
Oh, bring it down and you can talk with it in your hand. I'm Kara Westerman. This is Jeffrey Javalt.
Javald, right? Right?
I got it right. Oh, Javalt is here with me. And this is Writer's Daily Dive Live. And that's a mouthful. I remembered to put in the chat this time, the Zoom link. We meet at 1:00, 5 days a week, and on Zoom. And most of us are on Substack as well. And we meet, it's a destination. We gather, we chat, and then we write in silence together. So there's no test. It's a destination to get to every day if you like. And so I started doing these half-hour interviews on Tuesday with writers from the Writer's Daily Dive. And you're one of my favorites. And we were just talking about, you did a live video from your sugar shack in Vermont, which was really cool to watch how you make the maple syrup and boil it. And that was great. That's how I first got on a live with you. But you've come to the Writer's Daily Dive. And I'm going to talk with you today about really cool projects that you're doing, your
Okay.
novel. Yeah. But first we were talking about angst. And the first thing I wanted to say was, we have people joining us. Look. Oh, Jeremy Matthew, the Dollhouse guy. He has such a great project. He's having different people make rooms in a virtual and real dollhouse.
Cool.
But I woke up this morning, it's completely dark and rainy, and I woke up with just life angst. And I'm laying there for like 15 minutes because I didn't sleep well, thinking, my body is reacting like I've got to go on this live at 12:30. My body is reacting like I'm facing the firing squad. How will I do it? How will I get it all together? Will I be able to get
Oh
my
my
face,
God.
and I'm like, stop it. So, so the angst of being a writer is kind of always present. I guess whatever profession I had, I would have this angst where I wake up thinking, how am I going to do it? And we were just saying, without angst, we would have no material.
Right. So one of my lives was running a program for kids called Young Writers Project, and it was I was managing editor of a newspaper in Burlington, Vermont, and started this full-page feature with one column about better techniques for teaching writing, and I would have teachers or writers do a column, and then we had kids writing. And
Oh, that's amazing.
over time, the kids kind of took hold, and a group got together and they set up prompts, and they did all the, they took all the incoming responses. They chose the best for me to print in the paper, and it was quite cool. And then
How old was this set of kids?
the kids that got it organized were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then in January of 2006, the Vermont Business Roundtable invited me to breakfast, and I thought they were going to buttonhole me about their legislative agenda for the year. But no, they kept asking me about the Young Writers Project and what did I want to do with it and all this other stuff. So then they said to me they wanted to give me $250,000 to see what I could do with the idea if I wanted to leave journalism. So I did,
Whoa.
and I worked on it for 12 years, and we estimate we connected with over 100,000 kids, and I trained or did a master's course for, a total of 2,500 teachers. And we worked in inner city Newark, but mostly we worked in Vermont. We had kids from all over the world contributing to the original website that I did. But getting back to the point, the most
Angst.
popular genre was angst poetry,
Well,
which
they're in
was
high school. That's
oh my
everything.
god, yes, my boyfriend didn't look at me right this today in the hallway. Oh my god, what does that mean? Um, so I kind of got this technique for, sometimes calming people down or for, giving them affirmation to say, actually,
Yeah, give it
you
to me.
know,
What is it?
right.
When I wake up in the morning, what should I do?
Well, for a while, I had worry dolls, Peruvian worry dolls, and I would just take one out and deal with it that way, but I
Wait,
lost
are
them.
there any Peruvian worry dolls on the shelf behind you?
No, I
Oh,
lost them.
okay.
They they left. I think they got sick of all my worries. Um, so, but I think it's, a discipline that you have to have as a writer to push aside the, uh, the outside world. You have to be able to really focus on what you're writing, the characters or the idea. You really have to learn how to shed that. And I think for me, journalism was the route to my developing those kinds of habits.
Well, yeah, because it's about somebody else, first of all,
right,
and your curiosity is leading you, and that's one of the things I said to myself this morning is, you're gonna sit and talk with one of your favorite Substack people about whatever you want and
right,
follow your curiosity wherever it wants to go. What could be more pleasant than that? No firing squad, no blindfold, just show up and be ourselves, right?
right. And I think often the anxiety, if you look at it, stems from the outside world, what we think the outside world is going to think about what we're writing. And that
Yeah, and
gets to,
I often talk about, showing up and planning on failing and planning on making
right,
mistakes so that
right,
that's off the table.
right, right. So anyway, that's angst. I deal with it every day. And, what I found, in writing my novel was really interesting was that I wrote 25,000 words and I thought I was a night person. And I wrote every night after dinner. Um, and one morning I got up early and I went down and I read it and it was horrible. It was so boring. And I just
Wait, was
del
there wine involved after dinner?
no,
'Cause
no,
that oh,
no,
okay,
not at all. I don't
okay.
really drink much. And, so I deleted all 25,000 words and I deleted the backup and I didn't do anything for 3 months and then I came back to it.
Wow.
And I started writing at 4 in the morning and discovered that I was a morning person. And a friend of mine gave me this hint of he would read what he wrote the day before and not edit it in any way, just read it and then, brings you into your mindset of the day before.
Good
Um,
idea. And
and
some people say leave a sentence unfinished from the day
well, that's
before
so
so that
interesting.
so that you go into the document and you're like, "Oh, this is kinda like cursor beeping or
Right.
whatever." Let's
And
go to the
if
origin
you're
story of Hiram Falls, which is
oh,
your novel, which is because it seems like it had to you found these diaries, is that correct?
well, my first job, or my first year at the Burlington Free Press, was 19 I got there in 1998, and I wanted to do something to celebrate the coming new millennium. So I got the whole newsroom together, and we brainstormed, and we ended up with, let's look at the history of Vermont in the 20th century. And we'll do it each month, will be on a different theme. It'll be intolerance or the change of the last century or, um, natural disasters, farming, the hippies coming, all these other things.
The hippies
And
coming.
each month, so what I did was I had a report, the reporters, I would assign them, they'd have a whole month to do the story. And, 2 weeks of dumpster diving, and then I would get with them and we'd figure out what the
Dumpster
best.
diving is research? Code for
Yeah,
research? Okay.
right. And then, the writer and I would sit down, over lunch or something, and we'd talk about all the people, the characters that they ran into, and we'd decide on the 3 or 4 or 5 characters to focus on. They'd go out and do more research. In the meantime, I was working with the graphics people about a full page of that particular decade. Um, and in all of them, I put in this appeal. If you wanna share your history, bring it on in or
That's
send me
great.
an email. So this guy showed up one time with this diary that he had transcribed, and he wouldn't give me the diary, but he did give me the transcription. The
He
diary.
just said, "Here, use it however you
Yeah.
want."
So
Wow.
he found it in the bottom of a box of books that he bought at a yard sale, and it was written as I did some research, and I found out it was written by an 18-year-old girl in 1918.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1892.
Oh, okay.
And the first entry was January 1st, 1892, 4 degrees, cloudy. Today was the day for Uncle Lyman's and my trial, but it was again postponed. Oh, dear me, how can I bear it all?
It's like if you tried to that's like it's perfection.
And not another mention of it, the entire
Oh,
diary.
really? Not what the trial was or what
Right. So I noodled on it, for a good 10 years, and then I was asked to write a stage.
wait, what was that word you just used? I noodled on it?
Yes, I noodled on it. My
Is that
brain worked on it.
A Vermont, thing?
I don't think so. It's
Okay.
just, whatever. Um, so, uh, so the Vermont Stage Company asked if I would write a story for them for their winter tales program, and they have usually had 4 people write stories. So I decided I would do something with the diary and then decided, I don't think I can go into the dark place, of whatever this trial was. So I did some research and I wrote a diary, a totally fictional diary. And
Oh,
the stage company got an 18-year-old girl, a high school girl who is a wonderful actress, and had her do the reading.
but
And it
was the fictional diary based on the real diary? I
kind
mean,
of,
or
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I pulled, some of her daily habits and that sort of thing, found their way in. Um, and the names of her brother, one of her brothers, I really like that, so I put that in. And so it was really well received. And I, you know, after it was read, this older woman, grabbed me by the coat and she said, "We've been trying to figure out where that girl lived, and we think we know what house it was." And I
Wow.
didn't have the heart to tell her, "This is all made up, ma'am, I'm sorry." And, so then they asked me to do another one the following year, and that's when I moved moved it up, to 1947 for this character, and it was a doctor making a house call. And the old
Okay.
adage, you get your character out of the house and get them into a bind, um, which I did. It was a blizzard, a raging blizzard, and he was he couldn't take his 1945 Nash car out, so he decided to take the horse and buggy, and he fell asleep. And the horses 2 horses ended up going the wrong way and stopped. and he woke up. And I meant to say I was about to have something happen with the horses, and I was thinking she or it, but it came out as he. And I was like, "Who's he?" And
I
I just
remember this.
went through it. I just said, "Okay, fine, I'm going with it." And it became a spirit that
Wow.
rescued him, sent him around, and then the spirit appeared again at
What
the
would
end.
have happened if you speaking of the mind of writers and angst, if there wasn't this when we get these invitations to just go with it, even though it makes no rational sense,
Right,
to follow these surprising twists and turns is unbelievable. I was just thinking about these letters that, my husband spent the first half of his life as a
right,
woman, and these letters that have come into my possession from because 'cause I'm still in touch with his girlfriend from that time.
right.
She comes to the Writer's Daily Dive, and she sent me these letters, and
Cool.
I started writing in between from 2025 back to Jennifer in 1982, and then I thought,
Right,
"Wait a second, this is actually could be in the book," and, it makes no sense, it's that we're speaking to each other across time,
right,
but maybe it does, you know,
exactly.
and, these funny accidents is how you find these
Right.
things people haven't done before.
So the reaction from the shows was amazing, and people loved it, and they loved not knowing exactly what was this thing was, and
Yeah, and
so
especially since it's coming from diaries, then fictionalized, and then put on stage, and then in the form of a novel. Like, that's a
right.
weird trip to take.
So I decided to make that a major character in the novel, and it's kind of he's in the background, and he's there for the entire duration, and so he has a really important spots in the novel. But what I did was I decided it was a indigenous spirit, and the tribe in Vermont is Abnaki, and so I contacted some Abnaki elders who met with me
As you
several t
do, as you do, to ask permission mostly,
Right,
right?
exactly, and so on the first visit was absolutely astonishing. It was 6 of them, and each one of them broke down at some point during the conversation, and it went on for 3.5 hours, and, after
Wow.
I went with, a friend who also knew some of these people, um, but he was from that area, and everybody knew this guy, so I felt like he was kinda my ticket to trust, and, so anyway, we left. I had to leave, unfortunately, it coulda gone on all day, and on the way back, I get this phone call from one of them who said, "We realized that we haven't done one of these in a while, and we had never done it in front of a white person. And we wondered if you could come back, we'd like to show you some spots that are important to us." And I said, "Sure, great." And
Spots
I
on the land or
Yeah. And so I had written the first part of this ghost as or spirit as living in this cave, and I'd described the cave as having a crack in the northwestern corner with the light came in, and it was incredibly hard to see unless you were right on top of the cave entrance to be able to see it. Um, and I described the walls and everything else. And anyway, we went all day looking at these sites and these sacred spaces. And we get to the last part, and then we go in, weaving in through the space, through the woods, and we come upon this gorgeous grove and a ledge, a rock ledge, and we start walking up the rock ledge, and boom, there's the cave, and we walk in, and there's a crack in the northwestern corner of the ceiling with light coming in, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's so weird." And the oldest guy there who was taking a rest and sitting on a rock, he said, "What's weird?" And I said, "Well, because I've written about this cave and the crack, and the entrance, everything else is the same." He said, "Well, that's not weird. The ancestors are speaking to you."
Right.
And so they gave me full permission to do whatever I wanted to do. And
It's
one of the
amazing because the simple act of you sometimes I feel like in the writing, there are hot points or points where you're like, whoa, this person I'm writing about is suddenly become real. This
right,
has happened to me a few times, and
uh-huh,
it's frightening, but if you go with it and you let this live thing, right, that you started out in your imagination supposedly, they become real and you can feel this heat from them or this did they
totally,
generate this thing, right? And
right,
so you followed it. He's out in a buggy in the snow in 1945 and suddenly a he enters and you say, "Let's go with it." And yeah, I mean, the courage maybe this is a huge presumption, but that as storytellers and writers, we may be, accessing something that there are people there to help us. There are spirits there to help us because it's so brave to even start telling a story. And they're like, "Oh,
mhm,
a storyteller. Let's give him our story." I mean,
yeah.
that's amazing.
Well, I think it gets back to the first point that you brought up, which is angst, and it's in our insecurity. I mean, we are, as writers, we're very strong critical thinkers,
Right,
and we're the most critical with ourselves,
right.
and so that puts our thinking onto a conscious, self-conscious level. And, that's what really we have to deal with to get to the point where we're not really consciously thinking in some ways. We're just going and we're letting our brain do the work. And if we
But you know
proper
that feeling when you're like the character is writing this, you get these kind of moments where you're like, "That I didn't just write that."
Right, right, right. And I think that that's such a wonderful part of writing that people never talk about. It's just like, and the attachment you gain with your subjects, your characters is really amazing. I mean, when I did the final draft, for my agent, who's a brilliant editor, um, I just felt this sense of mourning.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh my god, where are they? They've disappeared." So that's when I've been doing Substack primarily as an antidote for waiting around for the
I know, you
publishers to
said what?
actually read my book and make a
It's
decision.
waiting to be published, you say.
Yeah, it's in the desk of 10 editors, 10 publishers' editors, and
And they won't
nothing
give you
is
an answer one way or another?
I don't think they've gotten to it. S so what my agent, who's been in the business for 50 years, she says, "The industry is a total shit show right now."
Like, who's
And
making any money? Like, nobody's making any money, so it's,
the
like,
big
really
names,
weird.
right, yeah.
And
So
now
I'm
AI's gonna come in and, like, disrupt it even more. I mean,
uh,
oh
the
gosh.
human voice will always be welcome.
I love
And
that I love that they set the self-driving cars on fire in LA. It seems quite quite
yeah,
a human reaction to the machine
right,
takeover.
right, right. We are living 1984, there's no
It's
question,
wild.
you know? There's
But I
gonna be
was gonna
mass
say
riot.
that, the characters I was writing while I was still drinking were a great impetus for me to get sober. This was 23 years ago because I weighed in the palm of my hand. Like these people were, I thought, they're alive. And I knew it was weird, but I also
Mm,
knew what I knew. And I knew that I should be putting my energy that way instead of that way. So, yeah, your characters can take you wild
right,
places.
right. And it's been interesting to, so my Substack is morphed. My original idea was to publish the novel on Substack.
Right.
And then my editor in Boston said, "No, no, no, no. No, you need to get a much wider audience." So she suckered me into it, and I got an agent. I can't believe that I got this agent, and we'll see. But I'm running out of patience because I'm an
Yeah,
old f
exactly, and Substack has sort of disrupted the publishing industry to the degree that now
Right,
it might be a better and better idea to do it on Substack and then have the people come knocking on your door as
right,
opposed to you waiting for them.
right.
Um, wait, I'm
That's
just
why I that's why I snuck out my original opening to the novel the
Oh,
other
right,
day.
that's right, the alternative opening, yeah. Now
What was the
we have only 5 minutes left, so
Oh,
I'll
dear.
put
Any questions?
one more plug for Writer's Daily Dive, which is a destination to go to on Zoom at 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. We meet, we write together in silence, we chat. We've got a nice group that really know each other's work by
Great.
now. But also for you, because you have all these events coming up. Tomorrow, you have your first photo story thing.
Right,
Is that right?
right, right. Yeah, I'm really interested, and it happened, and it's kind of one of the things I did on Young Writers Project is to say, well, digital writing is very different than print writing, and
Mhm.
why not take advantage of sound, to start with? So I've done a lot of work with photo stories, which is one photo, a tight narration that doesn't necessarily get to all of the things you want to, but it's like 3 to 5 minutes max. And, um, oftentimes with some music in the background to set the tone.
Nice.
And also a digital story has multiple photos, does the same thing,
Right.
um, and it might even have a short video clip. And I taught quite a few classes with something called Story Center out in Oakland, California.
And
Um
you were one of the few people on Cowbird. I joined right away too, but didn't do much with it. It was a cool
Oh,
little thing.
really? Yeah,
Yeah.
we were, I didn't find this out until much later because it turns out the guy who started Cowbird lives in the next town over. Um, yeah, really.
It's such a great name
But he was living in California at the time, but he's back, across
in
the
Vermont.
yeah,
Well,
and
I'm interested in showing up tomorrow if I can because I was trained as an oral history
cool.
person
Yeah,
and telling stories in audio and how to do those interviews and coupling those. I used to have a podcast out here called Phantom Hampton Stories from Where the Rest of Us Live. And I was using oral history interviews and
cool,
editing those
cool. Oh,
with
do come,
photos.
do
Yeah, I've
come.
gotta try and come. It sounds really cool. So
So,
that's, how do we find that tomorrow? It's at
um
noon?
go to Telling Stories or jeffreygevault.org and look at the June lineup or the photo, story post, and you'll see a Calendly, invitation. Just respond to that. Um,
You have to
eh
do it through Calendly?
well, you don't. No, you can just send me an email.
Oh, no, I mean, there's no direct link. You should just click there and then
Yeah,
it'll do
it'll
its
give you
thing.
everything you need, but I will be sending out an email tonight to all the participants about make sure they
Okay.
have the Zoom link, and, we'll do all the work will go onto a private Substack I've got that, I'm also doing Thursday night
Wait, what do you
live
mean a
writing.
private? Is there a dark Substack? Is there a
Yes,
dark
there
web
is.
on Substack?
It's the dark Substack where we use the word "fuck."
We use it anyway.
I know.
I
Now
wanna start an only human stack where there's no AI allowed. I don't see why we should have to compete
oh,
in that
oh, I have to
field.
tell you I have to interrupt. I have to tell
Okay.
you this because that's how I ended up on Substack was
Oh,
because I was on Medium, but
yeah.
Medium started doing the bot reading of the stories, which really pissed me off because it changes the inflection of everything, and it couldn't pronounce my name. So I searched around and long story, but I ended up with Substack and discovered you could call them. Back then, you could talk to humans and they would disconnect the bot voice, which they did. But this morning I saw an
Hi, Rochelle.
Substack writers at work. Someone posted, "How do I get rid of the bot voice? I don't like it."
Yeah.
Which you only hear on the app. It's that little button up
Okay.
at the top, the play
Okay.
button. And I was like, "Oh, well, you just get to a
Can you
human."
believe that people our age can actually manage this shit?
I know. But anyway, let me
It's
finish.
amazing. Okay.
So I went to my posts on the app and discovered, holy shit! I put in my own audio, but there's a little button up here that gives me this fucking British guy who can't pronounce my name, and I was so pissed off. So I fucked around for a while, and I discovered that what you need to do to get your own audio into that little button up there is you
Okay.
do a voiceover.
Yes, I do that for all my posts.
Right, but you can I didn't know this. This was, probably a while ago that
So I
they
have to disable it, the other thing, if I
no,
want
you
my voice?
can't disable. So a voiceover writes over the bot,
Okay.
but now you never used to be able to do this. You can upload your own audio in the
Yeah.
voiceover.
Oh, okay. Because I don't know, I'm choosing audio posts when I write my post.
Okay.
So I'm choosing to make them audio, and then after it's all written, I'm thinking that that will work.
Right, so I just do it a regular post and then put the cursor up at the top and then, press the little earbuds link on the editor bar, and then it gives you the option of embedding audio, which I thought did away with the bot. It doesn't. If you
Oh,
do voiceover and either live record or upload your audio
yes.
file, that will overwrite the bot.
Right, there's voiceover option, or you can choose audio post at the beginning when the template comes to you. Do you know,
Right.
I got an interview, I got a survey from Substack, did you get it? Asking questions about would I like to see more AI? Fuck no! So I was, like, bombarded them, and I hope they'll interview me because I'm, like, so strongly against more AI on Substack. It's just yeah.
How did this get pushed into our lives? I don't recall
Because
anybody
we
asking
all
me.
fucking agreed to it, because we all liked playing with that the little video things,
I
and
know.
now it's a virus. I'm sure one of the greatest things I ever heard was that they were going to put Egyptian hieroglyphics into AI and see what it came up with, and I thought, "Oh, yeah, okay, that sounds amazing, actually."
The only way that AI I've seen used really well is I was drafted to fill in for managing editor of a web news outfit out in Santa Cruz.
Oh,
Amazing
shit.
group.
You know what? I'm late for the Writer's Daily Dive.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, "Oh, we can just keep talking." No,
We
if
can.
anybody wants to jump on it with me, it's now, and I'm 3 minutes late. Thank
Oh,
you,
dear.
Jeffrey. This was a
Oh,
lot of
you're
fun.
welcome.
We
Thanks a
didn't get
lot.
killed.
I'll see you
Hey,
in a minute.
okay. I'll see you later.
Hey,
Bye.
text me the link.
No, it's in here. It's in the chat.
Oh, okay. All right. I got to figure out how to find the chat. Thanks, guys.
Okay,
See you
bye.
later. Bye.